Hello and welcome to Refiner's Fire. We are so glad you guys are here with us again. My name is Peter Blute. I'm the Executive Director here at Young Catholic Professionals, YCP as we call it. And we are back with another episode talking about all things faith and work and how God refines us through that. So I'm really excited today. Our guest, Joe Dunikoski. Joe, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Congrats on pronouncing my name right. That's a one in a million chance.
I had to practice a lot before.
Yeah.
It's Polish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, my wife's Polish too, so maybe I'm getting some of it through osmosis. So, So Joe, you're founder, CEO of Verso Jobs, among other things. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. You guys are a wonderful partner for us at YCP. Yeah. But before we get into that a little bit more, take us back a few steps, right? So you went to the University of Dallas, my alma mater as well. You're there, you're studying, but you're also building things, right? Even before Verso. So tell us a little bit about that, about Forum 56 and how that evolution kind of brought you through to the end or right after graduation.
Yeah. Well, it starts a little bit before college, actually. So when I was a junior in high school, between my sophomore and junior year of high school, I was sort of like randomly recruited for a computer job at Lucid, where we're sitting right now.
Right.
And it was this like wild thing where I was out of town for the entire summer. But at the beginning of the summer, they were like, "Hey, if we need help, can you help us?" I was like, "Maybe." I come back from where I was. The recruiter, who's actually a mutual friend of ours, I won't mention him, but he like just completely ghosted me. But I had a name and I had an address and a time, and so I was like, all right, I guess I'll show up. I showed up, they like asked me a few questions. They're like, sweet, and then just started training me. And so, but the funny thing is, I didn't know the name of the company until after I got the job, which is hilarious. So I had to ask.
The name is Lucid Private Offices.
Well, yeah. And so I had to ask what the name was and what we did.
Oh, that's always good in the first interview,
yeah, exactly.
Right?
Well, no, it was past the first interview. Okay. It was like I was like being actively trained. Like I had gotten a laptop and I was like, what are we doing?
That's awesome.
Anyways, I loved my job there. I loved the people I worked with. I was actually pretty good at it, shockingly, somehow. And I ended up working all the way through college, and that job transition, started working full-time in college. That transitioned to my gig immediately out of college until I started Verso. But why I'm mentioning this is that I just really, really, really loved what I did. And I saw how my time at UD studying the great books, the liberal arts, politics, Plutarch's Lives especially, actually made me a much better professional in terms of I was able to literally write code faster. I was able to sort of think through decisions faster. On the management side, I did a lot of data work and sort of organizational structuring. And that all really, really, really helped. So at UD, I was, well, to be honest, there's I had an army of interns working for me at Lucid at one point, and they were all smarter than me. They were all English majors. I was a politics major. I was the dumb liberal arts major.
It's okay. I'm an English major. So.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. So you smart English majors. Well, they were all, a bunch of them were working for me and they would write these terrible, terrible emails. What is going on? And then sort of just digging a little bit, turns out 30% of Fortune 500 CEOs come from a liberal arts background, but every year only 4% of 4-year degrees awarded are liberal arts background. So 4% turns into 30%. Granted, the majority of that is coming from the Ivy Leagues, but still, that's a correlation that you can't ignore.
Yeah.
And UD produces incredible professionals farther down the line. I started Forum, which is effectively a professional development organization at UD, to try and not to try, but to actually help these students get jobs earlier, get internships earlier, and most importantly, meet new people earlier.
Yeah, bridge the gap, right?
Yeah. So it's a super simple thesis. It's just that hey, look, you put people who have common interests, i.e. they both enjoy reading or good conversations, you give them something to drink usually, and you put them in the same room and good things tend to happen. I've always been kind of thrown off by classic mentorship programs where you're like assigned a mentor and you're like, hi, I'm Joe, you're Peter, you're my mentor. Like, where's the actual underlying trust?
Where's the organicness that comes with that? Yeah.
And you need a friendship, right? And so it takes meeting people in an organic setting, which I think YCP does really, really well. And it's a very natural, but there was just this gap at UD that we filled, and it's still going strong today. So first and best.
That's awesome. Yeah, because network building is so powerful, right? And we're going to talk more about that because that was kind of the birth of this concept with Verso as well that you're addressing now in the job seeking and job placement space.
Yeah.
But thinking about building your network, you know, I like to tell young people in college especially, like, you already have networks built in.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Or early career, you're just coming out of school. Like, you're not starting from zero. Maybe your LinkedIn count is 0, right?
Yeah.
But that is not a true indication of the size of your network, right? And so, you know, you were thinking about this pretty deeply while you were in school and since then. I mean, this is a huge part of your work. So, I mean, what would your guidance be to, you know, maybe they're in school, maybe they're just out of school, 20-somethings, early career, thinking about what is my network? You know, how do I grow it? I mean, what's your guidance to people who are maybe a step or two right behind you?
Yeah. Become really good friends with your classmates. It sounds like very contradictory because your classmates aren't necessarily like the people who are in the shoes that you need to be, but networks are exponential, and that's like super, super key to understand. And so the bigger the base, obviously, like 2 to the power of X is going to be but 3 to the power of X is going to be way more massive. So if I can have, like, and I got super lucky and had a core group of like 10, 20, 30 friends at UD and got to know them really well, got to know their parents really well.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, hey, look, you're going out to dinner with these people, their parents are there. You got to start talking about, for me, it was business. I've always been like sort of entrepreneurial, or I actually wanted to go to law school for a while. I still would love to go to law school, but talking to their parents is like a very, very, very good first step, right? And then also, of course, going to sort of like classic quote unquote networking events, but never, ever, ever ask someone, "Hi, I'm Joe. What do you do?" That's like the worst intro.
So what's
possible.
your first question?
Where are you from? What do you enjoy doing?
Yeah.
It's almost always like kind of trying to establish more like either family, friends, or what's the mutual connection, right? So like the fastest way to get like, hey, who do you know that I might know? That's like something, you just a tiny place, you know everybody. Or there's always going to be, the Catholic world in general, right? It's like super small place. I'll meet someone in DC and I'll like 30 seconds later realize we have like 30 mutual friends, literally almost always.
Right.
So...
I love that. Yeah. So I think even if you blow that out a little bit, you're saying the earlier you can form meaningful friendships, the better.
Of course.
Right. So obviously school, that's a great first way to do it. Maybe some people have that experience in high school. I haven't kept up with people from high school, but I know some people do. But starting as early as possible has that exponential effect over the long term.
Yeah, and you never want to like be making friends just because of who their parents are, right? Like it needs to be like actual.
Well, that
real
probably
friendships.
Wouldn't be called true friendships.
Exactly.
Anyway,
yeah, exactly. And so there's this like networking has a very like negative connotation to it. But friendship, like real friendship, is so rare in the world today, and if you can make those friendships earlier, those things are just going to become rock solid, and hopefully you'll be doing business for the next like 40 years together.
Yeah, I love that.
Working together on different projects and et cetera, et cetera.
That's awesome. The exponential power of networks.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, good. So you helped form this organization forum at UD, bringing young people together with, mentors, more experienced, primarily Catholic professionals through the UD network. And then just seeing where those go, the relationships and the fruit that flows from that. So then what was the beginning of thinking about what would eventually become Verso Jobs?
Yeah. I'm a pretty analytical guy, as you can probably tell already. At UD, it's a super long story that I won't bore you with, but basically it needs to be run by students for it to work. These sorts of tried time and time again. But there's always some sort of like institutional backing that makes it reliant on something other than the students. And if you have like just true actual responsibility that you give to someone, they tend to do a lot better. So I was leaving UD, realized like we had the opportunity to say like, hey, like, do we want to just do Forum full time? Do I want to keep working at Lucid, which I loved. I wasn't going to leave that anytime soon. My plan was to work for a few years, go to law school. Then sort of was playing around with this idea. And at the same time, like I'd been working, I'd been going to school, and I'd been building Forum. And Forum was going away. So I knew I had like an extra sort of thing, extra set of time that I could allot. So I decided to try and destroy consulting, like innovate in the consulting world from a tech perspective. I think that there's actually a really interesting idea there, but about sort of using really small bits of data to solve really complex problems. Unfortunately, that won't be solved until like quantum it's going to take a ton of compute to be able to solve that until quantum is actually tried and tested and deployed. But basically, I was just annoyed that my friends couldn't. Again, friends way smarter than me, way more like polished than myself, couldn't get a job out of school. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Dig and dig and dig. All of a sudden you realize like how broken the hiring market is. A huge piece of that is just because people are categorizing people in certain categories that are sort of just like make everybody go to average. So if you think about AI, and everybody uses AI to write their resume, right? Like AI, quote unquote, knows everything about me. It knows what I've done. It can look at my LinkedIn. It can say this, and I can say like, hey, I want to write a resume for YCP. When you're doing that, resumes work off of keywords, right? Like, so it's like, what's the most average, i.e. the most common word that will come up next? Because of that, at scale, all resumes go to basically the same point. So all of a sudden, all resumes start to look the same.
Yeah.
This is very much a bigger problem today, about a year later. But when I graduated in 2024, it was still beginning to like, you saw that sort of ATSs were much less nuanced than they are today.
Yeah.
And so there were all these resumes were just going to average. I was pissed about that. So started like iterating on some different projects, built like a few MVPs. Most of them sucked, and then ran a test, saw pretty meaningful data. I was working on it. We got a lot of traction pretty early. I took that to the CEO of Lucid, and I was like, look, I know I was going to work for you for 2 years, but this is the data. This is what I like. And he's like, you have to go try this thing. So we raised a round, and then quit my job on March 19th, thinking that it was the feast day of St. Joseph the Worker, which turns out it's not.
But still St. Joseph, he was there.
yeah, exactly. It's probably like the better feast day of like, I think it's St. Joseph, the
husband of Mary. Yeah.
So yeah, then we went full time, hired our first team, and have been iterating since that. And now we're like light years away from where we were on the product side. But it's been a lot of pivots and a lot of fun, really hard.
Congratulations. I mean, to go from concept to minimum viable product that is seeking to be disruptive in March, and then you raised money, and then you're cash flow positive as of the fall, right? I mean, that's unbelievable. And you're 23 years old, right? What do you think? What was the one or two things, either from a professional and or a spiritual life, that kind of kept you motivated and focused to do all of that so quickly and so intentionally? Yeah. But you were also pivoting. I mean, I know because you work down the hall from me. Like you guys are pivoting all the time, trying new things, adjusting, pushing new updates, right? But what is that through line for you that keeps you kind of consistently focused, motivated, purpose-oriented?
On a spiritual level, I mean, it's just yeah, trying to live like a very consistent plan of life. Trying to make sure that I was talking to Bishop Burns a few months ago or weeks ago, or however it's all blends together for me. And it's really kind of crazy when you look at like, just look, if team is consistently like praying, all the members, all my co-founders or my two co-founders, if we're like actually really making an effort to live out our spiritual life, revenue like almost directly correlates. It's kind of a crazy thing, but ultimately it's just the world right now. Like, I care very deeply about work. It's a way that we can sanctify ourselves. It's a way of refining ourselves, right? So like, what are the imperfections? I am one of the most materialistic people that I know, right? Like, I'm insanely competitive to a crazy fault, and also like insanely drawn by the things of the world. I love money. Like, that's something that's like very kind of, it's a benefit to being a founder. Like, right. Like, we're like going to be like we want to build $1 billion company, and we're not going to like tell anybody otherwise. Right.
Right.
Which is something crazy to say. At the same time, it's like, look, like, this is something that it's a civilizational problem. Not just like it's like okay that you don't like your job, but when you look at people who are not interested in their job, or who just very much dislike their job, or like quote unquote hate their job, to get very serious very quickly, domestic violence increases, suicides increase, divorces increase, by solving or by helping people find jobs that they're actually like really interested in. And a really key predictor of are you going to be interested in it is, are you just good at this job? I believe we can help build a better civilization, help rebuild especially the family, because it's the core. It's the English and politics from UD it's the core building block of our society, right?
Yeah.
So really, like,
that's amazing.
Helping and really just being like, look, right now is the time that we can dedicate almost all of our life to building something that hopefully will help solve the problem of hiring right now, because it's a really, really messed up market.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, I mean, that would be motivating, right? If your work is directly contributing to the building up of families, which we know are the foundational building block from which everything else flows, right? Yeah. So that's well said, and also like what an amazing vision too that you're painting as a founder for your team and for your clients and your customers and all the people that you're impacting too. That like you want to help set them up so that they can have a profound impact on the world through, first and foremost, starting, growing a family. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about Verso Jobs itself.
Yeah.
So give us in a nutshell, what is it? And well, let's just start there.
Sure.
What is Verso Jobs?
Yeah, Verso Jobs in a nutshell. I'll try and keep it pretty brief, but we basically are, we have a platform that users onboard onto. They tell us what they are interested in, where they've been in the past, what they believe in, sort of like trying to paint a holistic picture.
Values.
Like, values,
right?
Yeah. So basically, what are the things that actually matter in the job hunt, right? Like, because it's not just where you've worked at in the past, where you went to school, and what companies you worked for. It's also, what are the things I like to do on the side? What are the things that are going to keep me motivated, right?
Yeah.
We take that data, we aggregate that, and we route you to the best employers who match that description. So we're a platform to help people get jobs that are going to make them happy.
That's awesome. So you've got employers that are posting jobs with you.
Correct.
And then you're looking at that model of how do we understand the whole person that's the job seeker?
Yeah.
What does that person in a more well-rounded way look like so that you can identify with a higher likelihood of fit, or a significantly higher likelihood of fit?
Yeah.
Do you find, or to what degree do you find that not only is the matching and the hiring process either quicker, or maybe it's a higher quality or fewer candidates that create noise for the employer, but also the retention piece? Like, does that help as a job seeker increase my likelihood of staying at that company longer?
Yeah, from a retention side, and from like, why would someone use Verso? First, it's talking about going a little bit back to the power of networks, we don't just say like, hey, you are a good fit, apply for this job. If you are a good fit, we will make like a warm intro saying like a Verso team member will contact you, Peter, and say, hey, Peter, you should talk to Ethan, the founder over here.
Yeah.
You guys should chat. And that's always like an email or a text message. And that's something really powerful because it just creates this bond that before you're not walking into an interview blind.
Yeah.
Right. That's one of the worst things where, well, I assume it's a really hard thing of if you log on to an interview and you're like, oh, hi, I'm Joe, et cetera, there's no sort of background. There's no connection, right? Yeah. So creating that first connection is super important. From the retention side, on the data side, like we haven't been around long. We went to market in August. We haven't been around long enough to prove that our retention lasts longer than other services. But when someone does, there's like so many studies that show if someone's actually interested in the job, they are very, very much, they're much more likely to stay. And so in the market where the average job tenure gets shorter and shorter and shorter, having someone who actually cares about what they're doing and what they're building. And if it's like we work with a ton of American companies building in the manufacturing space, right? Like these are companies that are building infrastructure for America to actually thrive and to bring down consumer prices. And that's something where it's like, if they're building drones, if they're building metal refineries, like if they're building whatever, if they are actually engaged and interested in the problems that they're solving, that's something that's very, 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 very valuable from a loyalty perspective on the employer side.
Right.
So making sure that these people are actually like engaged in the product and they're not just doing it because it pays well. That's a huge benefit that's, I think, underlooked a lot. And right now, I mean, if you log into any sort of classic place to find a job, you're hit with like 100,000 job postings, right? And you have no idea where to start.
Right.
And you don't have time to go and look and find the ones that you're actually interested in. And then so many times you'll ask them, hey, what do you want to do? The most common answer is, I don't know.
Sure.
And so by really saying, hey, we're not asking you which exact companies you want to go and work for, but just what are your interests, helping them to distill down and saying like, hey, actually here are the 5 jobs that you might be a really, really strong fit for.
Yeah.
So.
And you do that primarily on the job seeker side by asking them questions,
mm-hmm.
right? And which I love this. I mean, I think good question asking is one of the most powerful skill sets you can develop because it's useful in every single part of your life. And it helps you get to the root of something more quickly, or help someone else think through and get to the root of something that they need to get to the root of more quickly. So I love that you guys do that and you ask questions because you help the seeker to think through what is important to me.
Yeah.
What else? Like you have to engage a different part of your brain than just where have you worked.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
You have to think a level or two down. And I love that you guys have built that into this tool. It's also more engaging, right? I mean, it's just more interesting, so you're more likely to finish it.
Yeah. And a cool thing we just shipped was, I think a week or two ago, or maybe two or 3 weeks ago at this point, but was now every question is unique to you, Peter. So you log in and you're going to be asked a different set of questions that are trained on the data that you have given us to say like, hey, you are our executive director at YCP. Why would you be like, what are the skills that you learned and like, what are the projects that you worked on in this role that will apply to another role.
Right.
And so it's just like, instead of asking very generic questions, it's like every single question is built off of the previous question. So it's less of like a questionnaire now, and it's like actually like a engaging agent, which is, I think, really interesting. It's much, the questions are much more like deep and actually meaningful and help people find better jobs, which is the goal, right? So
yeah, exactly. So you mentioned the example earlier. If I'm a job seeker and you're going to connect me with Ethan, the CEO, or the hiring person of that company. So now let's flip to the other side, the employer side, right? Yeah. We have many Catholic business people. If they're listening to this and they're like, well, that sounds like a lot, right? You're telling me you're introducing me to every candidate, right?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that. Why should an employer want to seek out working with Verso Jobs? What are the benefits for them. And maybe you can talk about, as part of that, your speed to market too, like your speed to connect.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest benefits of working as an employer with Verso is that we are extremely selective with who you introduce. So on LinkedIn, the average job posting gets over 250 applications. We will maybe introduce you to 5. And we do have one of the world's best like vetting systems now. And from a candidate perspective, it's actually really helpful because I might be just spinning my wheels applying to these roles over and over and over again, and applying to literally thousands of roles. That's causing employers to be blown up with applications. Then they aren't actually able to go and really consider the best 10 or 15 or 20. So for us, we cut all of the noise out. Our platforms is native to your communications platform. So we don't have a platform that you log into. All of it is just us saying, like, here is a profile. Do you want to talk to this guy? Yes or no? All of that data is then fed back in, which is then used to reinforce the vetting process. And then, we work fast. Like, we have a pretty robust database at this point of people who are looking for work. And we introduce you and really, really quickly. And one of our things is that speed is not does not take away from the quality. So we are very, very, very diligent about making sure that these people fit the archetype that you provide. So you say, these are my ideal candidates. We'll say, great, let's go find more of those people.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I've seen how fast you guys can work. It's awesome, right? Because I think so often on either the employer or especially the seeker side, there's resumes sent out and there's just nothing. It's just like dead air. Like what happens?
It's like a black hole.
Yeah. And on the employer side too, you see some ghosting. You see like there's issues there too. So let's talk briefly just about our partnership, right? YCP and Verso, like we're teaming up to support especially young Catholics, but of course all the employers, especially Catholic employers, which is largely our network, to help them find great people, to help them find great places to work where they feel like they're making a difference, where they're like as a whole person, they're cared about, and where they can, really use their work as a path to sanctification, like you said earlier. So this has been, I think, really exciting for us because we've realized that YCP exists to go find young people, connect them in with a core network of peers, of mentors who are their role models, discern their vocation, right? For most of them, it's called to marriage. For some of them, called to religious life, and people are doing that at YCP. Of course, just the business connections, doing business together, getting jobs, growing your influence in your network. Right? Yeah. And then, of course, the spiritual leaders that YCP helps our members have access to. So we bring them in, we connect them with these 5 core relationships that we believe will lead to the transformations and changes in your life that will help you be a more successful professional, have a stronger, deeper faith, start a stronger, more faithful family with your values at the center of them, and help you be a great or a better, improving, growing employee as well. So we have that network, and then we've got this amazing pool of people and mentors that want to hire and work with them and give back to them. Yeah. And this is where Verso comes in, right? So our members have access, and they can access your pool of employers, go through that process. But what would you say, like, if someone's like, oh, I'm not sure, I'm on the fence, like a YCP member, for example. Yeah. Why should they go work with Verso through us? No,
I think it's an awesome, like you said, super glad we partnered up finally. And it's a really, I think both organizations share this just like very deep understanding of how important your work is, right? Like it's young Catholic professionals. It's not young Catholics. And to any YCP member who's on the fence about working with work or joining Verso, I think the problem that we are really trying to solve is that saying, all right, you have your built-in network. You have the YCP members in your chapter, and then once a year you have the YCP members in your, or you go and you can meet all these YCP members at the conference, which is awesome. Verso is going to allow you to leverage not only the networks of the people that you have met in YCP already, but of the entire national organization. What do you have, and how many chapters do you guys are
44.
You guys at right now? Which is awesome. And so instead of just being able to leverage the members in your one chapter, or maybe the 2 or 3 members you know otherwise, it's like, actually no, like all of a sudden I was talking about the base of the network, which is super important earlier. You just multiply your base by like 44 times, however many the average number of members in a chapter. And I think that really saying like, okay, look, networks are limited, right? That's part of why we've talked about like open sourcing nepotism in the past is great because there's like this underlying trust that when I say, hey, Peter, you should go and hire my friend John. If you trust me, that's like a much more likely match that is going to happen because we have, again, some shared common ground. Right.
Well, and that's really important for YCP members that come into Verso because you can then tell employers, hey, this candidate came through our YCP network, right? So that's part of how you're building trust, part of how we're building trust to help them find jobs with great companies.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, whenever, and then instead of having just access to the companies that you know of through your YCP connections, you have access to all of the members' connections through YCP, and then there's this shared trust there that's built on, hey, these people have the same close enough worldviews, they have similar backgrounds, right? It's something that's huge from that getting a job and then being really happy at your job because, like you said, you know that these organizations are hiring people, not numbers, and they're hiring based off of like a whole person, not just what are the companies you've been in the past.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we're really excited about it and just continue to spread the word. And if you're a member listening to this, you can find our unique link to access Verso on the member portal. So we'll help you get there and make sure you get tagged properly so you get that extra oomph when you get put in front of employers. So I want to turn in our few minutes left here. I mean, you're really becoming an expert on what it's like to job search, right? And looking
expert might be a little bit of a stretch, but yeah.
Well, you're certainly on the path, right? I mean, you're living and breathing this. You know what's working, and especially with a tough job market right now. Yeah. Especially for college, coming out of college, 20-somethings, early career. It's a tough time, especially in some industries like you were talking about, engineering, right? Developers, things like that. So what are a few things that you think are contributing to help job seekers have a leg up beyond using YCP, leveraging YCP and Verso?
Use YCP and Verso, But
full stop, right? Yeah. What else are you seeing that kind of sets seekers ahead, either in the process or before they even get into it? Now, I've got a job, but what can I be doing to kind of hedge against being in a position then where I'm unprepared if I do have to job search?
I think the thing that's setting the most interesting people up with the best companies are these people can come from all sorts of backgrounds. But highlighting, I think there's 2 big things. The first, super practical, don't put the open to work banner on your LinkedIn. Like that's something that's like, that green banner is a turn off.
Why?
It's just, it's kind of there's people can have all sorts of opinions about this, but it can be viewed as a cry for desperation. And this person is desperate, and people do not, in general, want to hire.
Meaning, if they had built up their network and they had confidence in their skill set, then they would have just gone and found a job already through referrals.
Exactly. Like the question that an employer would ask is that, why is this guy looking for a job? Like, why isn't he employed already? That's one practical LinkedIn tip. Yeah. The other is it's more of a pro, and this will help you land interviews that you have in the past maybe not been able to land. Is include on your resume or on your Verso profile, include like personal projects, things that are interesting beyond just the work. People over and over, talking to hundreds of employers. The most common trait that people are looking for these days is question asking. Phrase is just curiosity, right?
Yeah, sure.
And you need to prove that curiosity. So like proving that you are working on things outside of school or outside of your professional life. Like if you're an engineer, put some cool projects you've coded on the side. Be proud of those things. If you're a seller or if you're a marketer or whatever, people have hobbies. Highlight those things. It makes you interesting.
Yeah.
It makes you unique.
I love that. One of the questions we actually ask when we are interviewing people to hire on our staff full time is we asked, what's the last thing you really geeked out about?
Yeah.
Right. And I don't care what it was, right? You can tell me you're just crazy into stamp collecting, right? Has nothing to do with our business. But it has everything to do with you pursuing something interesting, pursuing it where the only reward is, I guess, intrinsic, right? I mean, there's only kind of a qualitative reward for that, which is just your interests. You're sort of cultivating something on the side.
It's huge.
That is different from the rest of your life, right? But it demonstrates that you can pursue something with focus, right? And for no other reason than it's cool.
Yeah.
So if I can then help connect that with their work at YCP, that they can keep asking good questions. That they can pursue something aggressively if it interests them, aligns with their values. So I think it's such a good recommendation. And your LinkedIn too, right? I mean, adding those things in there.
Yeah, 100%. In your bios and in your, however you can communicate that effectively really fast is the key, I think.
Yeah,
so.
That's awesome. And then let's say they are going through the more traditional process and they end up on, Monster, Indeed, and they apply for a job. Let's say they actually get an interview. Like, what would your guidance be? Like, that would be a huge step, first of all, is to actually hear back from someone, right?
Exactly.
You've made a big leap forward,
but
now you're in it, but you're in front of a bot, like an HR bot. Maybe you're in front of a real person, but they're just going down a script. How do you stand out in that situation?
Yeah. Well, just to highlight really quickly, the odds that you get an interview on a place like Monster in Indeed. I read that if you apply to a job on one of these like mass application sites, well, first off, please do not use like quick apply. They are automatically like sent to the bottom of the stack.
That's where you can just click and it submits.
Yeah. It's the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
If you use that, you have a 0.5% chance of getting an interview.
Wow. So you're saying there's a chance.
There's exactly. If you submit enough,
that's all. There is a small chance.
But the big thing is as soon as you can get in front of these, hopefully a real person, just know the company really well. Like know like who the founders are, who's worked there in the past, like know people on the team, express real interest. Again, curiosity. And definitely don't say like at the end of the question, do you have any questions? Please do not say no. Like ask questions.
You got to ask something.
Push back. Like don't be afraid of
100%.
Don't be afraid of like actually standing up because you need to be able to. That being said, we're just on the application side. So I'm not an expert at all on interviewing. It's I've probably watched and talked to like thousands of interviews at this point, but I've actually never had an interview myself. So I have no idea what I'm. But no, I have no idea like what I'm talking about.
I think you do because you've seen so many of them,
yeah.
right? And what lands and what doesn't.
Yeah. Question asking is so key.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think some questions that I've gotten before that I think are really exciting from a hiring manager's perspective are when someone is curious about not just the goals of the organization. I think that's step one, right? You can say like, what's the one big thing that you or your company believes is going to have an outsized impact this year? I think that's an easy first one, right? It's kind of like the softball, but then connecting it to, you're looking for XYZ role. How is this person if I join this role, what is the biggest leverage point I have to help achieve that goal? Like, what are the expectations of this role that you're hiring for to help achieve that goal?
Yeah.
And that demonstrates not just I can ask the layup question and understand what the goal of the company is, but I'm also already thinking about how to best leverage my time, my skills, my expertise to achieve that organizational objective. And that opens like a whole nother cool conversation with an interviewer. Now, I guess this sort of assumes you're interviewing with someone who knows what the goals are and understands how it connects to the role. Perhaps in the largest of corporations, you're not going to get that in your first call, right?
Yeah.
But even if they say, I don't know, or you could tell they're making something up and being vague, like you've still demonstrated something.
Yes, 100%.
Something.
And it's something that goes beyond like truly great organizations. They can be massive organizations. They can be tiny organizations, right? Like we do most of our work with startups where you're interviewing with founders because they really, really care about who are the first 50 people on your team are going to be that's like of outsized importance, right? And one of the really cool things there is that we had a guy who just got a job through Verso last week, I think, or Friday or something. And it's a really cool story because he interviewed with the same company probably 3 or 4 months ago. And he got rejected for the same role. They told him like, hey, look, these are the traits that we are hiring for: curiosity, grit, et cetera, et cetera. A few months later, he came back and he was like, I've been working on these things, was able to ask questions to prove that he had, and just demonstrate and one of the big things was he wasn't curious, right? So, and so he just came back and he had obviously grown personally. That's awesome. He was able to demonstrate that through question asking, through just real like actual conversations in the interview.
Yeah.
And then he ended up getting the job, which is awesome. Like, right. Like
what a great story.
Yeah. But it speaks to, these people are, if you're able to demonstrate curiosity and then growth, like every company is going to be hiring for how fast do we think this person is going to grow, right? Like only there's...
Yeah, it's the potential energy rather than what you can bring on day one necessarily.
Exactly. And especially like we are both pretty interested in tech, and if you're hiring for someone to just do the same thing over and over and over again, those are the first roles that are going to be automated away,
that.
right? Yeah. That's like AI prime. So what you really need to be able to do in an interview is prove I'm high slope, right? Or like whatever the slope is. And maybe you don't think you're the fastest learner, but learn through the interview processes. There's actually the same company, awesome founders, really love the guys. They will do this trick where they'll give like, if I'm in my first interview, I'll drop a little bit of a piece of information about the guy that I'm the next interviewer. And if you remember that piece of information and use that to your advantage in the next interview, it's like a huge, like that's just like a very like small thing that you can use to, and we do similar things when we're hiring internally.
Yeah.
It's like small tests that just measuring slope and measuring curiosity. I think it's huge.
Picking up on these little details and then thinking about
and don't be afraid of like, oh, this is too like personal or something like this. But no, it's huge.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this is great, Joe. I hope all of our listeners will go check out Verso on the member portal, or go check out your website as well.
On the member portal, yeah.
Yeah, but ideally through the member portal, because then we can make sure we tag you properly coming through.
Yeah.
But really glad to have you on the show, Joe. Excited for what you're building and
Appreciate it.
How our partnership's going to continue to grow. So
Likewise.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you on another episode of Refiners Fire soon. We've got, 50 or 60 episodes now at least. So go back to the archives, check out some amazing speakers that we've had over many years now, guests on the show and speakers. And we'll see you guys at a YCP event soon. See ya.